I'm gonna pat you down for all. Keep me up! You can't walk on the highway.
I'm sorry about that.
So you got any ID on you?
No, man.
Here, let's walk up to my cruiser real quick. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna have you place your hands on the back of my cruiser. I'm gonna pat you down for officer safety. I'm gonna pat you down for
Keep me up! Keep me!
Seven King 11, shots fired, shots fired! Sir, man, squad, I shot one, he has a knife! Sir, get down! Sir, get down! Sir, get down! Get down! Get down! Get down! Stay down! Sir, please! Drop the knife! No, sir! Let us help you! Drop the knife! Drop it!
Don't touch it or you again, you understand me?
You're not hurt at all, though.
No, he didn't get a hold of me. Yeah. He pulled the knife and I backed up.
A Texas school police officer has been put on leave after video surfaced of a violent incident at a middle school.
Janessa, you okay?
Wow, the video posted Wednesday shows the officer pick up and body slam the student. This all happened at Rhodes Middle School in San Antonio last week, and the officer was reportedly responded after two students began arguing. After slamming the student to the pavement, he can be seen pulling the dazed girl to her feet and leading her away. School officials called the video, quote, concerning, and said the district as well as local police were investigating it as a case of excessive force. The officer involved has been with the department for more than a year and served previously in the Air Force.
Breaking news this morning from the Vatican, a new document on sex, marriage, and family life. Pope Francis tells Catholics to let their conscience show them how to behave, not church rules. And he tells priests and bishops not to judge.
It's the Pope's guide to love, sex, and marriage. Francis famously said, "Who am I to judge?" when asked about homosexuals. Father Thomas Rosica from the Holy See Press Office says the Pope is throwing open windows.
The one central theme here is inclusiveness. No one is outside the tent. The tent is open. Everyone is welcome.
But this openness has its limits. The Pope reaffirmed church doctrine, writing that there are absolutely no grounds for considering homosexual unions, and no exceptions either to the ban on contraception. But he did make an appeal for the church to be more flexible.
States across the South are seeing fierce backlash due to new laws seen as anti-gay. In Mississippi, a new law allows businesses and government workers to refuse service to gays based on their religious beliefs. That's brought heavy criticism from LGBT advocates and major companies. The governor of Georgia refused to sign a similar law last week based on objections by businesses. And a controversial North Carolina law has cost the state a major business deal. PayPal announced yesterday it canceled a planned expansion which would have created 400 jobs. Among other things, the new law requires that people use the bathrooms which correspond to their sex at birth. PayPal says it believes in equality for all people.
The External Affairs Minister for India says a Catholic priest held hostage by Islamic extremists in Yemen is alive. Several Christian media outlets had falsely reported Father Tom had been crucified, but New Delhi television reports he is alive and the Indian government is working for his release. Father Tom was taken by Muslim militants who attacked a Catholic retirement home in South Yemen. They killed 15 people in that attack, including 4 nuns.
A brutal murder is showing the dangers of criticizing religion in Bangladesh. A gang armed with machetes hacked to death secular writer Nazimuddin Samad.
He is the 6th writer killed in the last 14 months. Police say the murder was pre-planned. protesters taking to the streets afterwards demanding justice for Samad. The Home Minister of Bangladesh, Asaduzzaman Khan, says the government is doing its best to catch the criminals.
But he also says so-called bloggers do not have any rights to use these kind of languages that attack religion. Khan adds that no one has a right to attack religious leaders, be it Prophet Muhammad, Guru Nanak, or Jesus. Now, the population of Bangladesh is almost 90% Muslim. When it became independent from Pakistan in 1971, leaders decided that the country should be secular.
But in 1988, the country's military ruler declared Islam the state religion.
I'm here at the Family Research Council in Washington, where leading experts in religious freedom have gathered to talk about the horrific persecution going on around the world. Former Congressman Frank Wolf says Congress has got to wake up to this issue because we are in World War III.
There is a connection between Boko Haram. He pledged it to ISIS. There is a connection to Al-Shabaab in Somalia. There is a connection with what's taking place in Libya. I mean, we saw what took place in France. We saw what took place in San Bernardino. We are in World War III, and so the Congress should be dealing with this. Forget the administration, holding extensive hearings, bringing people in, bringing the best political minds in, the best military minds in, and dealing with this. We will pay the price.
A former U.S. sailor was freed from prison in Virginia today, 33 years after he was convicted of murder and rape. Keith Harwood is now 60 years old. New DNA tests show he was innocent all along. Harwood wishes his parents were alive to see him free.
That's the worst part about this, is my parents. It killed them. It devastated them. I mean, at the trial, I mean, like my brother said, he's never seen my father cry. It broke his heart. And they knew. And I'll never get that back.
Harwood says he's looking forward to starting over with his family in North Carolina.
President Obama may be preparing for one of his most audacious moves yet in expanding his own power and working around Congress. It involves making people in this country who are here illegally eligible for federal benefit programs paid for by you, the legal taxpayer.
Later this month, the Supreme Court will hear oral arguments in U.S. v. Texas, in which 26 states are challenging the executive orders that President Obama issued in late 2014, unilaterally expanding the number of illegal aliens and their family members, up to 4 million of them, who can be shielded from deportation under a policy called deferred action.
They support their families. They worship at our churches.
At the time, the president promised that these undocumented workers, as he calls them, would not be placed on the same legal footing as American citizens.
It does not grant citizenship or the right to stay here permanently or offer the same benefits that citizens receive. Only Congress can do that.
And at one point, this group was barred from enrolling in Medicaid and Obamacare. Yet now the president claims these immigrants, known as non-qualified aliens, enjoy a lawful presence in the U.S., have a right to seek out work, and thus can receive some of the same federal benefits U.S. citizens enjoy. In a Supreme Court brief filed last month, Mr. Obama's Solicitor General, Donald Verrilli, argued, quote, a non-qualified alien is not categorically barred from participating in certain federal earned benefit programs associated with lawfully working in the United States, the Social Security retirement and disability, Medicare and railroad worker programs, so long as the alien is lawfully present in the United States as determined by the Homeland Security Secretary.
The president has, by executive fiat, tried to unilaterally rewrite our nation's immigration laws. All of a sudden, the people who are here illegally, they wake up every day continuing to violate our nation's immigration laws, are being afforded, in many cases, more benefits than lawful citizens get.
North Carolina is paying a high price after striking down Charlotte's bathroom ordinance bill. PayPal says it is now canceling plans to bring more than 400 jobs and $3.6 million of investments into the city with its new operations center. The decision comes after North Carolina's governor signed a bill requiring transgendered people to use public bathrooms assigned to their biological sex rather than the sex they identify with. PayPal's president says the new law results in discrimination. It is not clear what the next step will be for PayPal in North Carolina.
This has real impact on Charlotte families and North Carolina families, and I am just urging our legislature to find some kind of legislative remedy as soon as possible.
I'm going to respect people who disagree with our basic common sense rules.
PayPal will be seeking an alternative location for their operations center.
A bizarre wave of property crimes is leaving smashed windows at fast food restaurants across the country. But the windows aren't being broken from the outside, they're being broken from the inside by the people who've been convinced to do the damage. Here's Jerika Duncan.
You can hear the sounds of broken glass at this Burger King outside of Minneapolis. Police say more than 20 windows were broken by employees in an effort to clear out the air and prevent the building from exploding. Ethan Grew was one of the workers frantically breaking windows.
A little scared. My other coworkers are doing it, so I just followed along.
In this press release, police say employees stated that a person called the restaurant stating they were a fire department official. Captain Tom Hawley says the caller spoke to the female manager.
Seemed to indicate that he was monitoring the business remotely. He kept giving her updates, telling her that if they didn't act quickly to relieve the pressure inside the building by breaking out the windows, that the business would explode.
In California, police said the manager of this Burger King rammed his car into the building for the same reason. This year alone, similar incidents have been reported in Arizona, Oklahoma, and at other fast food restaurants like Wendy's and Jack in the Box. Police have not made any arrests in these cases, but say if they do, they'll pursue felony charges.
Anytime you terrorize somebody and you cause them to do something that they probably wouldn't normally do, they could not only damage property, but very easily could hurt them or somebody else.
Another shooting on a military base, as an apparent murder-suicide occurred when an airman shot his commanding officer. The official statement read, there is an active shooter situation at Joint Base San Antonio, Lackland Medina Annex, and base, and local authorities are on the scene at this time, meaning the local police. All schools and child development centers are currently locked down and there have been no injuries confirmed at this time. There are no indications that this was a terrorist attack. Yet another pointless announcement that it wasn't a terrorist attack. Yet another nearby school put on lockdown and left defenseless even if it was a possible terrorist attack. Since 1994, it's been a non-stop killing spree of drive-by shootings by radical Islamists and disgruntled subordinate soldiers, including the apparent murder-suicide that took place today at San Antonio's Lackland Air Force Base. There have been 21 such incidents, including the November 2009 Fort Hood massacre, when Major Nadal Malik Hassan carried out the largest mass murder at a military installation in American history, killing 13 and wounding 32. So which New World Order puppet got us into this situation? According to the Washington Times, one of the first things Bill Clinton did upon taking office in 1993 was to disarm U.S. soldiers on military bases. So, in March 1993, the Army imposed regulations forbidding military personnel from carrying their personal firearms and making it almost impossible for commanders to issue firearms to soldiers in the U.S. for personal protection. For the most part, only military police regularly carry firearms on base, and their presence is stretched thin by high demand for MPs in war zones. Meanwhile, gun-free zones in general are devastating America.
The left just went into paroxysms of distress. The idea that somehow they were going to be responsible for race riots. Well, they've already happened. Can you spell Ferguson or Baltimore? And it's going to get worse unless they ease up on their anti-gun policies. And I think you're absolutely right. Chicago is just an explosion waiting to happen. Rahm Emanuel has a very tenuous hold on power there. His gun control policies are a total failure. That if guns are so bad, tell the Secret Service, tell whoever your bodyguards are, hey, put those guns away. It only makes violence more likely. It's not the way to solve problems. Can't we just talk about them? And that's okay for you and me when they're talking to us, but they obviously don't believe that because they don't put that into practice. These people are just really too much. Reiterating the call to keep the bases gun-free zones. Well, you know, that's really ignorant. That is making policy out of wishes and unicorns and other fairy tales rather than looking at what has actually happened, that all of our mass murders, save a couple since 1950, have occurred in gun-free zones. And yet we've got men, I guess women too, that have been in charge of training and leading people in battle, and yet they are so afraid of guns that they don't think that an E1 should have a firearm on a military base? Really?
13 people killed, including a pregnant soldier, and 32 shot, none of whom received the Purple Heart or any of the additional veterans' medical and financial benefits given those wounded or killed in war. Because the military, to the outrage of the victims, has apparently deemed this workplace violence.
And as military suicide numbers rise, it took 6 years for the dead and the wounded at Fort Hood to rightfully be awarded a Purple Heart. Today's murder-suicide in San Antonio is a blunt reminder that Bill Clinton's Rhodes Scholar New World Order policy isn't working.